All right, everybody, it's the Combatcast. We are back, and Chevy, tell me what we got coming up.
All right, February 18th, we'll be previewing UFC Fight Night Santos versus Blanchfield now. That was the Vera versus Sandhagen card, but after much ridicule of putting that fight in the Apex, it has been moved. We'll talk about that in our news section, but February 25th, UFC Fight Night Krylov versus Span. Excellent matchup. Two great strikers. And then March 4th, the probably biggest pay-per-view of the year, UFC 285, Jones versus Gane.
Probably the biggest UFC.
We'll see.
We'll see. There are some stuff in the news we'll talk about real quick. Now, as far as last week's card, we both decided wasn't really eventful. We didn't want to go too much into it. Spivak beat Lewis.
Quickly and easily.
Yeah. I was trying to think. I guess the one thing I was just going to add, Spivak, maybe Curtis Blades next. I don't know. What do you think?
Ooh, yeah, that's a tough matchup, I think. But yeah, Spivak's at that level where he's got to start fighting those top guys. I mean, Derek Lewis is a top guy, but there is obviously a proven way to beat him. And that's what Spivak did. I was wrong. He did fight intelligently, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. What I said would be his path to victory, and that's how he got there quickly.
He did. He looked good, too. He looked real good.
Yeah, I don't know what's next for Derek Lewis because, I mean, he just got steamrolled, basically.
Yeah, but Dana said that he said he still loves the guy, and he's not going anywhere. So.
Yeah, he can still put on exciting fights for sure. Maybe the UFC just plays him a little safer with some just strikers,
right?
Or Volkov type characters. I know we already fought Volkov, but more of those guys.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Let's see. Bellator this weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that, I guess.
Yeah. Obviously, the great, the legendary, the last emperor, Fedor Emelianenko, lost. He went out as most legends do with a loss. Bellator had a nice little tribute. I don't know if you saw, but a bunch of legends, to see him off. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, everybody kind of went home happy. I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah. And then obviously Johnny Eblen looked dominant in his fight. He was great. And then just the fight that we wanted to see from Hamasi and Brendan Ward.
Yeah.
Love to see Brendan Ward. First of all, great finish sequence with that head kick and then follow up the ground and pound. And obviously all the things he's been saying in his post-fight, it's good to see him getting some shine. He really turned his life around. And it's just great to see him doing well. And he's looking great in the cage too. So,
yep. And friend of former guest on the show, Sean Shamrock, too.
Yeah, shout out to Sean Shamrock.
Yep.
Yeah, and then also some other news. Kevin Lee is back from Eagle FC. He is now in the UFC again. Says he's going to be competing at 170.
I don't know what to think. I liked Kevin Lee a lot. He was definitely having trouble, and he was kind of all over the place at the end of his UFC stint. And he left and went away to Eagle FC and defeated Diego Sanchez.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he went out and he just steamrolled everybody. He had one fight, and he beat Diego in a decision. Is what it is. I like Kevin. I hope this is a refreshed Kevin and he looks good, but there's nothing that tells me one way or the other.
I really think his whole issue is his mental game. Obviously his head coach tragically passed away, and that's where it all sort of going downhill for him. So I think he's made a few changes in his life. I believe he's a little bit more religious now, maybe some extra discipline or whatever. Hopefully he's finding what he's looking for, and we see the 2.0 version of Kevin Lee here in the UFC. I do think that 170 is going to suit him much better. He was always kind of a in-betweener. 155 was very tough for him to make. Always wanted to advocate for the 165 weight class that Dana's never going to do. So I'm glad he's doing 170. I hope he does well.
Yeah,
I hope they don't dump him in right into the fire. You know, I know
Yeah, we'll see.
so yeah.
What's next for Kevin?
Yeah. So speaking of 170 fighters, new tough coaches, Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, they're going to fight at 170 when the season of tough is over.
It's the biggest thing you could have done for the Ultimate Fighter. It's on ESPN.
Lifeline for a dying show.
Yeah. All right. I mean, it'll be on ESPN, ESPN proper. So, it's going to be on a big platform. They want to go out with a big thing. They want to put the best foot forward. We'll see what happens. I'm more curious, not to be a downer for people, but I'm more curious to see if we get the fight after. Like, I want to see the fight, but what concerns me is that Conor has still not entered the USADA program, and I don't know. Like, I just have my wonder. Like, you can make a TV show, you can draw the attention, and then the fight can still not happen sometimes.
Well, let me tell you, the fight's gonna happen, and I'll tell you why. Conor McGregor don't need to be in no testing pool. He's Conor McGregor. He gets to do what he wants, and Dana's gonna, praise him. He'll be telling him, yeah, he doesn't need to worry about testing or figure it out, USADA. I don't think this is going to be a problem.
Yeah,
whether he really takes tests that he passes or not. Michael Chandler don't give a shit if Conor McGregor tests hot. Yeah. He wants them. He'll take another loss, an exciting loss, and get paid. So, I'm sure he'll be telling Dana behind the scenes, I don't care if you test him once. So,
yeah,
I think the fight will happen. I'm excited for the fight, but I think I'm more excited for the, YouTube short clips, and I won't be watching the show because I can't do that anymore. But I do think we're gonna see some great sound bites from these two. And Chandler, I think he has respect for Conor for what he's done and his ability to make him money. But I do think they will go back and forth.
And it's going to be interesting, too, because as much as I do think I think Chandler does have that respect. Chandler being like, just a family man that he is, if this gets personal, you can see Chandler saying something and it could trigger Conor. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. As far as the fight goes, it's a decent fight for Conor to come back to. I mean, Chandler is a hittable guy. I mean, there are no easy fights for Conor anymore. Chandler's wrestling is tough, but we know that Chandler is willing to get in a firefight, and that's probably Conor's best chance at this point. If he can stay calm under that pressure and land those counter punches, he could win.
Absolutely.
And then he probably gets a 155 title shot immediately after that, after not fighting at 155.
Right.
All right, last piece of news. Friend of the show, our favorite fighter, Mateo Gonzalez. He's fighting for Peak Fighting this weekend. You can get the pay-per-view at peakfighting.com, I believe. Everyone knows how to use Google, so you guys can figure it out. But just want to shout out to Mateo if you're watching or you hear this. Good luck to you. We'll be rooting for you.
I'll be rooting for you. What's up, Thomas? Thomas in the comments. Yeah,
all right, you ready to get into this?
Let's get into UFC 284, man. That's what I want to do.
All right, let's highlight a couple prelim fights that I'm excited about. Let's start off with Jamie Mullarkey, Aussie-born Jamie Mullarkey versus Francisco Prado. Francisco Prado, I don't know if you have their records or whatever.
I don't. I didn't get any records for these two prelim fights that you have, but go ahead.
So Prado, I know he's undefeated, an undefeated Argentinian, but this is his debut in the UFC. Mullarkey has been looking great as of late. He's just such a tough test for a new guy to come in. And especially at home, I think that Mullarkey's probably going to get this done. I actually see a lot of Aussies doing well on this card because Australia is going to have such a great crowd. But I think I'm going to go with Mullarkey round 2 KO in this one. But I am excited to see what Francisco can do.
Yeah, Mullarkey coming off a win over Mike Johnson there, I see too. 15-5.
Yeah. He always puts on exciting fights. Even if he doesn't win, his fights are very back and forth all the time. So, one other prelim fight we're excited for. This is headlining the prelims. Tyson Pedro versus Modestas Bukauskas. Yeah. Tyson has looked much improved in his last 2 fights. He's looked like a world beater with 2 first-round TKOs. And Bukauskas is back for his second stint in the UFC. He got cut after 3 losses in a row, and then he got 2 wins outside of the organization, and he's back.
Yeah, for Cage Warriors. What I would say about this is he's desperate for a win in the UFC. You know, he's out to prove himself. But Pedro so far, obviously, you know, we'll see as the competition rises. But Tyson Pedro has looked like a completely different fighter since coming back. He's looked super sharp with his striking. So I got Pedro winning this one. I know we don't always give predictions on prelims, but I think Tyson Pedro is going to keep this train rolling. And I would say he'll get him out of there in round 2.
Yeah, I think Modestas fancies himself a striker. Tyson obviously super crisp with his striking. I think the UFC is kind of setting him up to win at home here because, you know, he's best friends with Tai Tuivasa. You know, he has a great personality. I think he could be a star. So I think they're setting him up for a win. I'm going to go with Tyson Pedro as well. I think he keeps the streak of first-round KOs going here, and I'm going to go with first-round knockout for Tyson Pedro.
Yeah. Best card of the year, Randy. I mean, we're early in the year, obviously. First card of the year. Second. But as far as put together, you know, like what to expect. I mean, this is definitely as good as it gets, as we'll get with the breakdown and stuff. But this is as good as it gets when you're talking about the 2 top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. It might not be the card that gets the biggest attention. We're going to have Jones and Gane, obviously, in another month or so here. And who knows if we get Conor and Chandler. But, yeah, I mean, up top in that main event, it's about as good as it gets.
Also, I think matchmaking-wise, they set this card up for a lot of finishes, which obviously is super exciting, too. So, yeah. It's definitely best card of the year so far on paper, for sure.
Yeah, and I think Thomas is right. I think UFC is behind Tyson Pedro, and they're trying to build him up and get a potential star. Because, I mean, Tyson Pedro's got a good personality, too.
Yeah, he took like 3 years off. I believe he had a knee injury or something. He had a setback after that injury. He was all through COVID, basically, he was out. And he's just come back looking like a world beater. So
absolutely.
All right, let's get into this main card. Yeah. Starting off with a banger. Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menifield.
All right. Jimmy Crute, 12-3, 5 KOs, 4 subs, 3 decisions. He lost in his last 2. He lost his last 2 to Anthony Smith and Jamal Hill. So right. Anthony Smith, obviously a guy who's been around for a while, super tough, and Jamal Hill, who's now the current light heavyweight champ.
And Anthony Smith was the backup for that championship fight as well. So he's right up there as well. 2 super tough guys.
Alonzo Menifield, 13-3, 10 KOs, 2 subs, 1 decision. He's on a 2-fight win streak. And he's coming off a win over Misha Shirkinov, who holds a victory over Jimmy Crute. Now, I would argue that's a much different Misha Shirkinov that Menifield fought, who was on a several-fight losing streak, whereas he was on the top of his game against Jimmy Crute. Crute's going to have a big home field advantage out here, obviously. But I don't know, man. Menifield, I like him a lot. I want to go for Crute. My heart is telling me go for Crute. He'll pull it off, you know. But I'm going to go Menifield. This is going to be fireworks. I'm going to go Menifield by decision. This could be I think this will be one of the few fights. I think they're going to battle it out, though. This is going to be a fight.
Really? Yeah. So both of these guys are so powerful. I would be shocked if it went to decision. You know, not crazy. I mean, a la Derek Lewis and Ngannou, something like that. We've seen 2 super powerful punchers go the distance, but I don't see this one going the distance.
Because I was thinking Menifield might KO him round 1. I'm like, nah, Crute's not going to get finished in his hometown. But I see Thomas in the comments, too, talking about KO in the first round. I'm like, maybe I'm just my heart really doesn't want to see Crute get, KO'd here. So.
Well, I'm not going to go with Menifield. I'm going to say that Jimmy threatens some takedowns or, mixes in a couple takedowns, some clinch work or whatever. Menifield carries so much muscle. I think he might get a little bit tired, and Jimmy Crute catches him late. I'll say he gets back on track with a 3rd round KO at home.
See, but that's not too far off what I'm saying, though. So I'm kind of thinking this, but I think Menifield will be able to carry it. And I think we all do agree with Thomas. Like, if there's going to be a finish early, it might be Menifield. Yeah,
right. So. Just so powerful, explosive too. Like,
but this is a good opening fight. Like, I can really see this one going a couple different ways.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next one. The big boys, Justin Tafa versus Parker Porter, local to us, Parker Porter.
Yeah. Tafa 5-3, all his wins by KO, 2-3 in UFC. Parker Porter 12-7, 5 KOs, 3 subs, 4 decisions, coming off a loss, but won his 3 prior. I'll go with Porter. I'll say, you know what? Tafa's Australia too, right? He's a local guy.
He's New Zealand or Australia. He's down there.
Yeah, you know what? Let's go for the hometown guy. Tafa catches him. Sorry.
I'm a big Justin Tafa fan, but I think Parker's more well-rounded. Plus, he's the local guy for us. So I'm going to root for him.
Yep.
I think it's going to be a decision win, though. I think maybe he just kind of grinds on Justin and doesn't get hit. That's his main goal. Maybe holds him down or holds him up against the cage or whatever. Yeah, I'm agreeing with Thomas here. I think we get Parker by a boring decision.
Okay. Well, let's move on to a fight that I'm actually pretty excited about.
Oh, yes. Jack Della Maddelena versus Randy Brown.
Yes. Jack is 13-2 for those who don't know. He's got 11 KOs, 1 subs, 1 decision. He's 2-0 in the UFC, both finishes, both bonuses. He's won 13 in a row, basically. So he lost his first 2 fights by KO and by sub. And then he just went on to win the next 13 fights. He's in the UFC. He's got 2 bonuses. Like, I just love that, But Randy Brown, 16-4, 6 KOs, 5 subs, 5 decisions, and he's won 4 in a row. He's at his best right now, I think. But I got to go JDM all day long. I say he's going to tap him out. Nah, he's not going to tap out. He's going to KO him. And I'll say round 2.
Yeah. I think I'm with you on this. I'm with Thomas, trusting JDM's nose. That's a hilarious comment, but both of these guys have been looking great. This is a great test for Jack, though, because he hasn't fought someone at Randy Brown's level yet, for sure. So I'm excited to see if he can land that KO punch or if Randy is going to be able to use his range and set traps. He's a little bit more crafty. He can mix in a takedown. He has great jiu-jitsu. So if he can set up any of those things, that'd be great for him. But if he gets touched, Jack's putting him to sleep. And I think until I see otherwise, I think that Maddelena is the truth. And I'll say he gets a round 2 KO.
All right.
We're going to move on to our first title fight of the night, the featherweight interim title. Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett.
Yair 14-3-1, 5 KOs, 3 subs, 6 decisions. Emmett 18-2, 6 KO, 2 subs, 10 decisions. Emmett's won 5 in a row. I want to pull up Yair's record here, though. Even though I just read it off to you, because what's very interesting when you look at this is he won his last fight against Ortega. Now there was an injury, so it's kind of hard to tell there, but like he lost the decision.
Very early injury too. That was within 1 minute of the fight.
Yes, but before that, he had a loss to Holloway where he looked fantastic in. Though I really think
True.
He beat Jeremy Stevens. Before that, there was a no contest because of the eye poke. He KO'd Zombie, and
with 1 second left in a fight he was losing.
A fight that he was losing. And before that, he lost to Edgar. A fight there's no way he would lose now because Yair's just at a different point in his career. The thing is, like, we continue to see this evolution of Yair, and he continues to look better and better. And I'm going to read Thomas's comments here because he says, my heart is with Yair, but I have a bad feeling. And I know what he's saying because I just feel like style-wise, Emmett, who can threaten with that takedown, and he's got that power, is a tough matchup for Yair. And so part of me wants to say Emmett, but the continued improvement of Yair and just the way he looks every time he comes out to me, I'm going to go Yair. I'm going to say he gets it done. I'm going to say fireworks. I say he's going to finish him off in round 3. Head kick.
Oh, God, I hope you're right. But yeah, I agree with everything you've been saying. It's great that Josh Emmett has finally gotten a title shot. He's certainly earned it. I am, you know me, I'm a huge fan of Yair. At one point he was my favorite fighter in the UFC. But I don't know if he's really deserving of this title shot. Personally, to me, this title shot should have gone to Arnold Allen. Because of the reasons that we listed off, his last few fights. He beat Zombie with 1 second left in a fight he was losing. He beat a weathered Jeremy Stevens. He lost to Max, albeit a closing fight or a close fight, close, exciting fight. And then, he won that fight with T-City where T-City hurt his shoulder pulling out of a armbar. That was 1 minute into the fight. So I'm a huge fan of Yair, and I agree with you. His evolution between fights is great, but also he takes at least a year off between each fight.
He does
too. So he has nothing but time to train to evolve. So, but very tough matchup, I think, with Josh Emmett for the reasons that you said. He can threaten a takedown. He's incredibly powerful. And he's just super durable and tough. So I think his durability is going to get tested for sure. But I just think that I'm going to pick Josh by decision, even though I'm rooting for Yair.
Okay. We will see. It's an interesting fight.
Yeah.
Or as somebody in our YouTube comments said, when I put a short up about it this week, I'm going with your ear. And I was like, that's an interesting.
Your ear. Okay.
Yeah, your ear.
A little language difference. Yeah.
That's all right.
All right, move on to the main event. One of the most underrated fights, underappreciated fights by the company, at least, because all we're getting is Power Slap promo. But Islmam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. This is number 1 and number 2 pound for pound fighters.
Volkanovski 25-1, 12 KOs, 3 subs, 10 decisions. This guy is unbelievable. I mean, what he's been doing, beating Holloway on a couple getting close fights, but the last one where he beat Holloway, where he was convincing in it.
Masterclass,
yeah, his convincing victory over Ortega. He's a guy that continues to evolve and improve. Islmam Makhachev, 23-1, 4 KOs, 11 subs, 8 decisions. His one loss was really his second UFC fight. He got caught, and he's looked unstoppable since, and he looks better and better. What he did to win the title against Dubronx, absolutely crazy. The big X factor here is Volkanovski's going up in weight. What is he going to be like at that weight class? Is this his real weight class? He was always a bigger guy. Or is it going to be a problem fighting at this weight class? Like Thomas says in the comments, hard to go against the Dagestanians, even if it is Volk. I'm leaning towards Islmam in this. I think he'll win a decision. I've been saying that all week, actually. I've been responding to people. And as I say it now, man, I just keep thinking we're in Australia, right? Volkanovski has looked so good. He keeps looking better, right? Habib's out of his corner.
Yeah, that I think is an X factor for this as well. I think it's not being talked about enough.
I'll go with Volk. I'll go with Volk to win the decision. I think it's going to be a hell of a fight. And I think he's just going to be undisputed. And we'll see what happens with that featherweight title, if I'm correct, too.
Yeah. So I agree with everything that you said. I do think that it's being underreported, the fact that Khabib is not going to be in his corner. You've seen clips here and there where Khabib is like literally controlling Islam like a video game character. He tells him, put your arm here, switch your hips to this side, and Islam immediately does it. If he's not there, is there someone in that corner that can do that for him? Or does he have, that fight IQ innately to do it himself? We're going to find out. And we're going to find out against one of the best fighters in UFC history at this point. So, with that being said, I always underestimate Volkanovski, whether it is because I'm a stan for Max, or I don't know. I just underestimate the guy, but I think I'm going to go with Islam. I think, the fact that Volkanovski has to move up, Islam's already a big guy for 155, and he's so strong with the grappling. I think he's kind of just going to get a hold of him and hold on to him. Maybe you see a little bit of striking, but I think it's going to be a lot of grappling and a lot of Volkanovski fighting to get up. Now, later on in the fight, I definitely think that Volkanovski has the better cardio. So if he can continue to get up, you might see Islam become a little bit tired and deterred by Volkanovski keep getting up. And then I would say Volkanovski has a great chance to punish Islam. But I'd say chances are we get an Islmam Makhachev decision. I hope I'm wrong.
Yes. Thomas doesn't think the Khabib thing will be as big a factor, but he is saying he agrees with you too. It's hard to go against the Dagestanians. So everybody's got Islam here, except for me, and even I really am I've been going back and forth on this all week, so I'll change my mind again. But and what I wanted to clear up too, what I meant by we'll see what happens to the featherweight title. If Volk does win this, and say Yair wins the featherweight title too. Like, will that end up being the featherweight title, or will they have to fight it? You know what I mean? Will he defend? I don't know.
I think Volkanovski, when he mentioned going up, he wanted to hold both titles, like Amanda Nunes, go back and forth. I don't know how easy that is for him.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he could do it, if anyone can do it, I could see him being one to try to hold both. He wants to be active, so
yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Well, I mean, really, he's fighting if he can beat Islam too,
right? Yeah, if he can beat Islam, he's off to the races. He's gonna have all those big name lightweights coming after him too, because he'll be new blood, big money fights coming his way. This is the biggest moment of his career for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's going to be a banger of a card. I'm super excited. Like you said, pound for pound, number 1 versus 2. Chevy, tell people what we got.
All right, February 18th, previewing UFC Fight Night. Now that is Santos versus Blanchfield. While I am excited for that actual fight, the card, if you go to UFC.com, has not filled out yet. So I'm not sure exactly what we're getting, but hopefully something better than last week's card. And then we'll move on to February 25th, UFC Fight Night, Krylov versus Spann. Super excited for that matchup. And then finally, March 4th, the return of John Jones, UFC 285, Jones versus Gane for the heavyweight title.
Can't wait. All right, fans. For Thomas and Randy and everybody in the comments and everybody else watching, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. And we'll